In order to comply more effectively with USC policies related to conflicts of interest and commitment and outside employment, the Division of Human Resources and Audit and Advisory Services created an automated disclosure process similar to the process used by faculty. The system provides the means to report, route, and obtain approvals for conflicts of interest and commitment and outside employment. This introductory video will assist you with navigating and using the system. To access the system and create a disclosure, you will log into the site using your USC Net ID and password. This is your USC Shibboleth logon, which is used for most USC activities. After logging into the system, you will arrive at your home page. From this page, you can create disclosures and management plans. The top left of the page includes a tab called My Disclosures. Selecting My Disclosures will take you to a personal workspace that allows you to create a new disclosure, revise a disclosure if needed, and view your previously submitted disclosures. To create and submit a new disclosure, click Start New Disclosure Form. This disclosure is required in order to comply with university policies that address potential conflicts of interest and conflicts of commitment. The questions and your responses will allow university officials to determine if conflict exists, and if so, how best to manage it. Underlined words are defined. Definitions can be found by hovering over the word and also on the right side of the page. You may also access a copy of the Conflict of Interest and Commitment Policy and frequently asked questions. All questions of Part 1 must be answered and will determine if additional information is required. Once all questions are answered, click Continue. If you answered yes to at least one of the questions in Part 1, you must complete a disclosure for each entity or individual with which you have a relationship or a professional financial interest. That takes you to Part 2. To complete Part 2 of the disclosure, select an entity or an individual with which you have a relationship. If the name of the entity is not in the drop-down menu, type in the name. After entering the name, you will have an opportunity to select the type of business and then to enter an address. Then click Continue. If you need to enter an individual, select Individual, type in the individual's name, enter the address, and click Continue. From this screen, it should be noted that if needed, you may go back to Part 1 to revise your answers, finish editing a disclosure that was started, or continue to the confirmation page if your disclosure is complete. On this page, you are asked additional questions related to the entity or individual that you disclosed at the beginning of Part 2. First, you will explain your relationship. Then, as you answer the additional questions, if you answer yes to some questions, additional questions will be asked to gather further information. After all questions have been answered, click Continue. You will be asked if you have another relationship to disclose. If you click yes, you will be brought back to the first part of Part 2, which would then allow you to enter another entity or individual if needed. If you click No, you will be brought to the confirmation page. The confirmation page allows you to verify your disclosure is complete and to acknowledge that you are familiar with and have read the policies related to conflicts of interest and commitment. You will then click the I agree button and submit your disclosure. Under your My Disclosures tab, your disclosure will now show as submitted and awaiting further review by the COI authorized reviewer. Your disclosure will be returned to you if it is incomplete More information is required by the COI authorized reviewer, or if it is determined a COI management plan is required. If your disclosure is marked as incomplete, you will be notified via an automated email, and the status of your disclosure will appear in your My Disclosures tab. As you can see, this disclosure was returned and marked as incomplete, and that a management plan was required. It is now awaiting your revision and the addition of a management plan. Next to the My Disclosures tab is the Management Plans tab. If a conflicts management plan is required, you can select the management plan template. This is a Word document that you can download to your computer and complete. The management plan is a fillable form that you should review with your supervisor and your COI authorized reviewer to determine which of the 3 action plans is most appropriate for your relationship and situation. At the bottom of the form is a place for you to print the form and for you and your supervisor to sign the form. If you are working on a research project that is related to your relationship, it must also be signed by the Office of Research and Compliance. You should then scan the completed Conflict of Interest Management Plan to your computer to upload to the disclosure system. To upload the plan, click Upload a New Plan. Browse for the file on your computer and click Open. You can then select the name of the entity for which the management plan is associated. Then click Continue. To submit your revision with your management plan, go back to the My Disclosures tab. Click the Edit button. If you do not have any changes to make to the answers to your questions and do not need to add any additional information to your responses, click Continue through the form until you get to the confirmation page. Then click I agree and submit your disclosure. You can see the disclosure has now been submitted with your revisions and is awaiting further review by the COI authorized reviewer. Your revised disclosure and conflict of interest management plan will be reviewed and approved by the COI authorized reviewer, the Dean, Vice President, or Chancellor for your area, and lastly by Human Resources.